They say he is so smart. If only he'd apply himself. She just needs to focus more. They're passing, so what's the problem? But guys, you know better. You see what they don't. Those after school meltdowns from your child who has ADHD, the forgotten assignments, the emotional crashes, the chaos over brushing teeth or packing a backpack. You've tried the pep talks, the reminders, the routines. School just isn't working. Okay. Not for them and not for you. And when you finally ask for help, you get hit with like all of these alphabet soups 504, IEP, accommodations, evaluations. And so, what does it all mean? What actually helps a child with ADHD? And what if school actually says no? So, in this live training, we're breaking it all down, plain and simple. The real difference between a 504 plan and an IEP, and how ADHD fits into both, what your child actually qualifies for even if their grades are fine, the exact supports to ask for, what to do when you feel dismissed or overwhelmed or unheard, and why the best support doesn't start at school. It actually starts at home. Now, you shouldn't have to be a lawyer, guys, or a special ed expert, or have all the perfect words to get your child the support they need. And I'm here to help. Now, if you're new to this community, hello, hello. You might be wondering, who are you and how do you know about ADHD and the support that schools can offer? This is a really great question. I'm Dana Kay. I'm a board certified health and nutrition practitioner, and I've worked with over 1,500 families of kids with ADHD, but I'm also a mum of a child with ADHD myself. So I definitely know how hard it can be. But I also know there is hope. My son is a teenager now. He's almost 16. Can you believe? 89 days until he gets his license. I don't know how I feel about that. But he's thriving both at school and at home. And I want you to know it's possible for your child as well. So if you're tuning in live, give me a wave. Tell me where you're tuning in from. Is it sunny? Is it raining? I'm here in Seattle and does not have a cloud in the sky. It's beautiful today. But I am going to get started. So, you guys can get your child the support they need, both at school and at home. Now, let's start with the differences between a 504 plan and an IEP. Okay, so a 504 plan is designed to sort of level the playing field. It's part of federal law, and that it says that schools have to provide equal access to learning for students with disabilities or health conditions like ADHD. So, a 504 plan allows for changes in how your child learns, but not so much what they actually learn. So, it's all about accommodations. It's Jackie is saying, this is my story right now. I just say through an IEP meeting last week with 8 people at his school, and I was dismissed with an ADHD diagnosis and dyslexia. He got denied for any help. You are tuning into the right live training right now, and thank you for sharing your story. So, look, a 504, it's about those accommodations, things like movement breaks, extra time, or help with organization. Now, a 504 plan is usually easier and quicker to get than an IEP. Meltdowns, forgotten homework takes an hour. And I know, and it's so stressful for you as a parent as well. And so if you're denied an IEP, then a 504 might be applicable. But I will say, you can get an advocate. And if you don't agree, you have options. Okay. So a 504 plan, it's usually easier. It's usually quicker to get than an IEP, especially if your child is bright, if they're passing their classes and just needs a small amount of support, not like a whole new curriculum. And get this, your child can still qualify even if they're getting decent grades, because it's not just about academics, it's about how ADHD affects focus, regulation, forgotten homework, as it's Jackie is saying there. Access to learning, things like that. So an IEP, it's an individual education program, is a step deeper. So it's part of a different law called IDEA, and it's for kids who need special education services to actually make progress at school. So to get an IEP, your child has to qualify under one of 13 disability categories, and ADHD usually falls under other health impaired, or OHI, if it's really impacting their ability to learn. With an IEP, your child doesn't just get those accommodations, they actually also get personalized goals. They get services, sometimes things like executive function support, small group instructions, or behavior help. Now, the school is required to track progress and adjust the plan regularly. So it's not a one and done type of thing. Now, if your child only needs accommodations, then a 504 plan might be enough. But if your child needs accommodations and instruction or support services, an IEP might be a better fit. So I hope this is making sense so far. I've got Gina from Phoenix, Arizona. I am sure it is nice and sunny and hot there. Kindergartner on an IEP, not sure if it's the right path or a 504 plan instead. Yep, you are definitely in the right place as well. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Now, hope this is making sense so far. Let me know in the comments if you've got any questions. Does this apply to private schools? Now, private schools are a slightly different, and every private school is different in what they do and what they can provide. Now, sometimes public is actually a better fit, because private schools, yes, they can get access to these programs, but sometimes they don't have the level of support required to actually follow through with an IEP. But depending on their, what type of private school are they accessing, public funding and things like that. So it's best to talk to your school in particular. Now, yeah, definitely pop any questions you've got in the comments. Now, you might be wondering which is better for kids with ADHD. And the answer is it totally depends. ADHD can qualify your child for either a 504 or an IEP. One isn't better than the other, and it all comes down to what your child needs. So if your child mostly needs accommodations like extended time or movement breaks or help with homework, a 504 plan is probably the right place to start. But if they've fallen behind academically or they need additional support, then an IEP might be more appropriate. Now, here's something schools don't always tell you: passing grades do not mean your child isn't struggling. If ADHD is affecting learning, even without academic failure, your child may still qualify. So, what happens if the school says no? Just as someone shared in the comments earlier, this happens more often than it should. Now, we've heard from one listener. I'd love to hear from you guys who also are listening in about your experience with your child's schools. Have they been supportive? Have they been helpful? Or have you felt like getting that support for your child was a fight? Let me know in the comments so we can definitely support you further. Now, if your child's school is one that doesn't offer the greatest support, you might hear things like they're doing fine academically, or let's just wait and see. So it's Jackie. I'd be curious to know what they said when they said he didn't qualify. They might have said they just need to try harder. But if your gut says your child needs support, remember that you are allowed to push for it. You can request a formal evaluation in writing, and the school has to respond within a specific time frame. You can also bring in outside documentation like your diagnosis, your ADHD diagnosis, or neuropsych evaluation. That can make a huge difference. Now, if they deny you the IEP, you can get an advocate to help you push further, or you can request for the 504 instead. You can also request an independent evaluation if you don't agree with the school's finding. Now, you don't have to accept no as the final answer. You know your child best. Don't forget that. So, okay, let's talk about what support actually looks like. If your child qualifies for a 504 plan or IEP because of ADHD, the next question is, what should you be asking for? So I'm going to give you a breakdown. This is, from many families that are in my program that ask about this. So 504, just remember, 504 plans equal accommodations, whereas IEPs equal services and goals. So 504, let's start there. These are changes to the learning environment. They will help your child focus, regulate, and keep up. Some of the most helpful ones for ADHD include preferential seating, like near the teacher or away from distractions, movement breaks or frequent brain breaks, extended time on tests, homework, and assignments, chunking work into smaller steps, using fidgets, timers, or even headphones, and then alternate testing locations. Reduced homework, as it's Jackie, that might be a good one for you. Reduced homework to avoid the burnout. Visual schedules or daily checklists, and check ins to make sure your child understands directions. Now, all of these are designed to help your child access learning in a way that works with their brain. Okay. He's in second grade and I left in tears. Oh, I'm sorry when they told him his test scores are too high for help. I don't even know what I'd ask for, but I know his struggles at home is work. Yeah. So you may want to go back and ask for a 504 plan. Also, does he have an official diagnosis? That will definitely help your case. 5 out of 10. That's not a that's not a great score. So, like, yes, he may be testing high, but on a general day to day basis, he may not be doing well and he's struggling. So I would go in with your evidence. I would go in with maybe requesting a 504 plan to start and see how you go from there. So hopefully the accommodations that I just mentioned, can some of those accommodations of a 504 be part of IEP? Yes, Gina, they can. So I'll go into what the IEP supports look like, but definitely all of the things that I suggested for the 504 can be incorporated in an IEP. So some examples for IEP for ADHD: supports for executive function. So things like planning, time management, and staying organized. A behavioral support plan. Okay, so Jackie, maybe if he's suffering from meltdowns and behavioral problems, I'd be curious if it's just at home or at school. If it was at school, then, I could see how he could qualify for an IEP. But if it's just at home, it may be more appropriate for the 504. Now, with the IEP, you can ask for those behavioral support plans with built-in sensory tools or scheduled breaks, check-ins with a special ed teacher or counselor, social and emotional goals like managing frustration or asking for help, visual aids, timers, graphic organizers, small group instructions. So for reading, writing, or math, if they're fallen behind. And yes, you can ask for specific IEP goals that are actually useful. So some of my favorite are things like, you want to be really like accurate, like use SMART goals, basically measurable. By the end of the quarter, the student will initiate tasks within 2 minutes in 4 out of 5 opportunities. I know it sounds complicated, but it's very, very specific. Or the student will use a visual checklist to complete multi-step tasks with no more than one prompt in 80% of trials. These goals, they're clear, they're measurable, and they're tailored to executive function struggles, not just sort of vague ideas like improve focus. And if your child already has an IEP, but the goals aren't working, remember that you can request revision at any time. You don't have to wait for the annual meeting. IEP goals should be built with you, not just handed to you. Now, if the goals don't reflect what your child actually needs help with, speak up, because you guys know your child best. What supports have you asked for if you've got an IEP or 504 plan? What's been the most helpful for your kids? Share them in the comments, because I think that it can definitely help other listeners for this live. And also, if you want to watch this replay, I will be posting it to the feed afterwards. So Jackie's saying it's the opposite for us. He's very quiet and no one to stand out because of social anxiety. So it's very easy to fall through the cracks. Yes, and that can be very, very hard. He has an official diagnosis, but they wouldn't even look at it. Jackie, I'd be curious. Are you in a private or a public school? Because that will definitely help, because this is written into the law. Okay, they have to look at it. Emerald Waters is saying, my son's high school will not reduce his class load because they say otherwise he won't have enough credits to graduate. He's in 10th grade. They make it so really our only option is to medicate. Oh, I'm so sorry. It just really, it makes me so upset. I think that, especially with high school, it would be best to get an advocate to come with you, someone who specializes in IEPs and 504s, because you've only got that limited number of years before he actually graduates. The credits are important. So I suppose it really depends on what is his goal for the future as well. And that's really hard for me to answer because, some kids want to go into a trade, some kids want to go into college. So I think the credits are very, very specific to what he wants to do afterwards. Now, I think it's a good time to talk about advocacy because this is where a lot of parents burn out. A lot of people have shared in the comments that they've walked into a school meeting. You walk in with this pit in your stomach, or you leave with like no one really hearing you. And that's been the experience of, Jackie and others that are listening in today. I want you to know that you can advocate for your child without burning yourself out or becoming that parent. You don't have to fight. You just have to be prepared. Okay. Approach school meetings as a team. Say things like, let's figure out what's best or what's realistic from your perspective. It really just builds that trust. It makes it easier to speak up when needed. Before every meeting, you want to prepare. Make a short list of concerns or questions or bring notes. Save all the emails, print out report cards or behavior logs. So, Jackie, you may want to print out or keep the grades that he's been getting, that 5 out of 10, so you can actually show the evidence for that. If the meeting feels overwhelming, bring a support person. Okay. If the school pushes back, you don't have to panic. It doesn't mean that support isn't needed. It just means you might need to educate them or escalate it, and always document everything, every conversation, every meeting, every email. In my experience, most educators really, really want to help every student they work with. So when you go in as a team player, most educators are happy to accommodate within reason and really do what's best for your child. Because I will say private schools are less likely, if they're because they're smaller in some cases, not all cases, but because they're smaller and they've got less access to resources, sometimes it might be that the school's not a good fit. So you need to adjust, you need to sort of look at that as well. Now, they do want to do what's best for your child. So here's what most people don't say. Yes, and I'm going to say it, even though they, most people say, might not agree with me. IEPs, and this is what I want you guys to know. It's not hopeless. IEPs and 504s are super helpful. They are necessary in a lot of cases, but they're not the whole solution. Okay. Paperwork doesn't fix everything. What happens at home matters just as much, if not more, than what's in the school plan. Because the truth is, the best ADHD support, it's whole child, it's holistic. It's not just about accommodations. It's what's about going on in the body, in the nervous system, sleep, diet, movement, emotional safety, blood sugar, gut health, nervous system regulation. And these things impact their ability to focus, their behavior every single day. So, yes, you want to advocate for support for your child, the support that they deserve at school, but don't stop there, because when you strengthen what's happening at home, you make every strategy at school more effective. And in fact, you might even make it so that your child no longer needs services and no longer needs as many services at school. And this is what happened to my son. He was diagnosed when he was 4 and 5. He was on a 504 plan in his early years, and then he no longer needs it. And I've seen it happen hundreds and hundreds of times since then as well. And all the kids that I've worked with, when we figure out how to calm the nervous system from the inside out, heal that gut brain connection, a lot of those tricky issues at school fall by the wayside. And that's what we help families do every day. So I'm actually holding a live masterclass. I wasn't actually going to share this on this live today, but I'm actually holding a live masterclass tonight. It's actually at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Central time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And I'm going to share all of the strategies that can help you help your child from the inside out. I didn't even think to raise it here, but if you want to sign up, you can just drop the word live. I think LIVE, because as I said, I didn't plan this, but you can drop the word live, and I'll DM you the link to sign up for tonight. If you can't join us live, sign up anyway. You'll get the replay. But I do have a recording of another masterclass if you can't show up live, because I want to be able to answer your questions. I want to help you help your child, because, our children deserve more than just paperwork. They deserve to feel capable. They deserve to feel calm, confident, and truly understood. And you deserve to know how to make that happen. I can see, yes, fantastic. I hope you guys join me because I love doing these live masterclasses. I don't do them often enough. But I love the interaction from all of the families that join us. And I stay until right at the end and answering all of your questions. I think the last one I did, the training went for less than an hour, but then I had literally like 2.5 hours of questions, and I stayed right until the end. You guys don't have to stay right until the end, but I will answer every single one of your questions. I hope this live's been helpful. I hope it's really helped you understand the difference between an IEP and a 504 plan. And I hope now you feel armed with the information you need to support your child best. Now, if you're new to my community, make sure and pop a hello in the comments, introduce yourself. I'd love to meet you, give you some ideas on where to start, or even send me a DM. But guys, I hope you join my live tonight, LIVE, and I'll send you the link. Emerald Waters, thank you so much. Gina, thank you so much. Jackie, thank you so much. T Webb, thank you so much. Guys, I hope you can join me live. If not, I've got loads of resources on my channel that can help you with all things ADHD. But hopefully I'll see you tonight. If not, I'll talk to you next week. Bye now.